routine. I've seen you do it.
There you go. Hey, folks, we're live. This is the pre-show. Just making sure we're all set up. I was having a lively conversation with my wife that led right up to the minute. So, let's see. Just got to make sure we're all set up here. Banners, brand. Boom. There we go. And we'll probably, David, will come in looking more like this. Do you have a way to tip your camera down a little bit? So
Yeah,
get your head a little higher toward the top. There you go.
I got a tablet too today, but I just haven't had time to set them up
right
yet.
on.
I woke up this morning, my thing was locked.
All right. Professor Bauer's feeling physical in a meta sort of way. That's good. There's Matt Finn and Uncle Dave and Field Guy so far.
Hey, fellas. I've found a lot of people are getting attacked this week. The energy is causing cognitive dissonance everywhere.
Yeah, there's all kinds of attack energy out there tonight, it seems. So I am going to have to get my headset if nobody took it off my desk. Everything of mine's been missing lately. I got less than a minute here and we go live. So plug this in. There we are. Otherwise, I get notoriously nasty feedback. So there we are. All right. We got about 30 seconds and we go live. I'm going to take you out and I'll bring you in a few minutes, Dave. All right, folks, stand by. We're going to go dark and we'll be back in a few minutes.
The Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Hey, folks, happy Monday evening. Good to have you back for the show. This is Scotty Roberts, of course, your host, and this is the Intrepid radio program right here on the, again, I almost said Odyssey because I've said that for 4 years. Rolled off my tongue. It was rote. No longer with Odyssey. We are now Subspace Radio. And that's, you can go find Subspace Radio at subspace.radio. And you can find this broadcast there in its audio format. And at the same time, you can come on over to the YouTube channel or to Facebook and find the video simulcast of this program. And if you're over at the YouTube channel now and you're not subscribed, what's keeping you? Hit the subscribe button. Hit the little bell that will give you the announcements for when the show goes live. And also, you can hit the join button if you have not become a member of the channel. And that join button will show you 3 ways you can help support this channel. And hopefully one of these days soon, after over a year of having that in place, we'll be able to start doing some of those perks that you get for becoming a member. And so I want to thank you all for doing that. That's about the only thing that supports this show. You and people like Leslie Holker, who have done a lot to help support this show over the years. And so I want to thank all of you for being here. Hey, Leslie is in the chat room tonight. Good to see you. And okay, here we are. Why don't we get rolling kind of early tonight without any fanfare, without any more hullabaloo? Let's call in our guest. I've got David Castle. And he's been here before. He has been a member of the chat room. I couldn't think of the word member or something like that. Participant in the chat room for many, many months, if not many years. And he has got some very interesting things of his own that I think are well worth sharing and well worth talking about. And so I asked David, hey, come on the show and let's talk about some of this stuff. And he says, what area do you want to focus on? And I said, let's do a grab bag. So we're going to do a metaphysical grab bag tonight, so to speak. And so, David, why don't you introduce yourself to the radio audience and those who might not know you very well, and tell what you do and why you're here.
I was a temporary delivery car driver for like 22 years, and I was in an accident. So I'm here because I did the right thing, and everything happens for a reason. And what looks like might end up being a bad experience can turn them around and be a good experience at any time.
Yep, that's true. And that's why you're here. And so what
That's
do you
why I'm
do?
here.
What's the stuff you focus on? So many things under this umbrella. What is the thing of that I would say is a paramount interest to you, and the things that you get yourself involved with, and what got you there?
Well, I live in Ashland, Kentucky, and it's a little small town, like 24,000 people. And I guess I'm the only one that stays up like late at night, because I go outside all the time between maybe 11:30 and 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And we have a lot of UFOs here, and I don't think anybody's awake to see them. They get as far as like maybe 4.5 stories off the ground, and they shine like the sun. And it's hard to believe that nobody else is experiencing this. You're seeing them sitting right there. So I don't know if
I've
it's a
seen some of the
frequency thing.
photos and
Maybe I
videos
can
that
see it
you've sent
because
to
I
me.
believe, who knows?
Yeah. I've seen some of the stuff you've sent me.
Yeah.
And so there's I know there's a lot of activity out there, and to say that people aren't seeing it is what impresses me as being kind of odd.
A lot of people keep their heads
design?
down now because of their devices, and they just don't look up. And if they just looked up, they would see things
There
like
it is.
this. You just go outside at night when it's real dark, and dress warm if you need to, and just like focus on one part of the sky. If you try to focus on everything, you won't catch it. You'll be moving back and forth because it happens real quick. So you pick a focus. I would say around the Pleiades in the sky. If you look and you can find the Pleiades, focus in that area and just stare at it and keep staring at it, because usually maybe a minute and a half, you see something like goes by so quick that if you were trying to follow it, you'd have never been able to follow that.
Right. Now, why do you think you're getting it out of the Pleiades? Do you think that I have heard so many people say this is the origins of humanity, this is where we came from, different places. Do you think that's why we're getting it from that area?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I always focus on that as well. But the big ones that come and visit me, they're not even in that area. But the Pleiades areas, I think it's the busiest.
Who's visiting you these days?
Who's visiting me? I don't know. I don't know exactly who they are. A lot of people that at channel think it's the Andromedans, but I don't have any memories. That's one of the groups. I have memories of other groups, but I've never had a memory experience that I remember about the Andromedans. So I'm not the kind of person that's going to sit here and bullshit you. I'm just going to say, if I know it, I know it. And if I don't, I don't. I don't try to make up stuff.
I get that. Let me ask you something. And this is maybe a little early in the conversation to ask this, but let's hit it. There have been several books written, articles written, and pundits talking about it. One of them was Nick Redfern back maybe 7, 8, 9, maybe even 9 years ago. He wrote a book that I do not remember the title of off the top of my head right now. He's written so many. But he was talking about how the government has a department in the Pentagon looking at the whole alien question, the UFO question, for decades. And that they've come to the determination, now this is a governmental department, that could be synonymous with the demonic. Now, what have you heard about that? What do you think about that?
I live in Ashland, Kentucky, and I'm telling you right now, we're surrounded by the demonic beings here. So that doesn't scare me much. I was married twice. I mean, if you want to like focus your energy on something bad, I guess you could do that. You can manifest something bad if you wanted to, but why not focus your energy towards something positive? I mean, other than saying, why would they come and visit me? Why don't you say, why wouldn't they come and visit you? You know,
Yeah.
Evidently you're here right now because you're listening to Scotty, and you're kind of understanding that things aren't right, things are different, and you're not being affected by the programming on television that tries to make you think nothing's happening, you know?
Yep. Would you call that a part of being awake? Not woke,
Yeah.
being awake.
Well, I think we all have alien DNA. I think there's others, you know, some of us, it's a little more predominant where you can tell what kind of a being that you are, probably. And I think there's all kinds of things here right now. I think you're just part of a hybrid system, and you came here to have the human life experience. You got the VR glasses, and you got on the ride, and they told you to keep your hands and your feet in the ride. And this is the ride that you paid for.
Yeah. So how do you pay for that ride? When you say that, what do you mean by that exactly? This is the ride.
I think this is like a training ground for beings to kind of move up in dimensions. I think you have to come here, and they don't let you have your normal powers that you sometimes you remember having, or sometimes you have flashes of doing something, maybe flying, maybe it's super strength, who knows? But once you have those dream experiences like that, I think that starts waking you up to thinking, you know, my brain could not have made that up. I've never seen that before. And yet I'm having experiences in different places when I dream, and they have different kinds of, I guess you would say, rules to their like dimensional games that they play. I mean, you go up in a level, and even as you keep moving up, you're starting to remember, and you're starting to know, you know, what you used to be able to do. I think you're starting to have memories.
Okay. Now, some of the things I'm going to ask you as we're going through this conversation are going to sound as if they're housed in a very skeptical framework. And I'm doing that to ask certain questions a certain way. And so if I'm pressing you on certain things, it's not because
Please.
I'm coming from
and
the
I
outside.
won't bullshit you, Scotty. If I don't know, I'll just say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll ask him next time I see him, because I don't know everything. It's not like they come every night and I can remember every night. You know, they do come sometimes, and they came once, and I woke up in the middle of the situation, and you could feel the energy. I think most people, when they feel this kind of energy, they immediately want to go for, oh my God, I'm having a panic attack.
Sure.
Well, what if you're not having a panic attack? What if you're feeling something, the energy that's around you that you're not used to being around?
Yeah. That makes sense.
Take a couple of deep breaths, you know, get through the moment, see that maybe it's just the energy you're feeling, and it's nothing to deal with threatening you in any way. They just came to visit you. Now, if you can't handle it when they come in the room, then they're going to leave. But what if you can handle it? What if you can take a couple of deep breaths and realize that this energy didn't come here to mess with you or to kill you, or maybe it came because it thinks you're doing pretty awesome, and it wanted to give you a message or wanted to explain something to you. You know, why judge something before it actually happens?
Well, that's a good question. I think we all do that to a certain degree, some more than others.
Yeah.
Professor Bauer said earlier, it's ramping up all this activity because of the energy cycles afoot. And I know I could have him explain that in the captain's cabin, but tell me what you think of that. Why do you think there's so much ramping up? Is it because we are more aware, and so we're tuning in more? We're noticing more? Because 50 years ago, we didn't take notice like we do now. It's like the same thing with ghosts.
Well, I think it's ramping up right now because you're getting ready to see the final act of what they call the planet Earth. Something's going to happen. It's going to happen, and everybody can feel that energy. It's on the way. And not only is it on the way, it was probably here for a while, and we're just now starting to get more and more of its energy. I think this is the last scene we're on pretty much right now, right before they roll the credits. I think something's going to happen. I think things are going to change. I think you're going to get your memories back. I think if you've done well here and shown that you can handle responsibility and you can handle yourself in a bad situation, then I think you're probably going to level up and you're probably going to get more powers than you had before.
That's interesting. Now, do you think that there's something lower than where we are on this present plane? You say we're working our way
Something
up.
lower than that?
Is this the bottom and we're working our way up, or
I don't know. I was married,
underneath?
so that was awful close to the bottom. And I think that the more that you experience here and handle well, keep the deep breaths, and you see them this time, and maybe they come up to you and then they fly off. Well, since you handled that situation well, maybe they fly up to you next time and try to communicate with you. Because I'm telling you, the first time you hear telepathic communications, it'll make you like stop it in your middle. You go through cognitive dissonance because it just like it sounded like your brain was talking to you. When they talk to you, it's your brain talking to you. So
yeah,
a lot of people can't handle that.
Huh. Well, yeah, there's that. So you asked me a question a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago. And I said, I can't talk about that right now. We'll have to get a conversation. We've never had that conversation.
Anytime.
So, you asked me something about myself. And I want to ask you where you were coming from on this, if you remember the specific question. Was it you that was asking me about empathic abilities?
Yeah, I was asking if you were an empath, if you can feel energies around you when something's not right. You put that with your intuition, and I mean that's what they make a big deal that Spider-Man has. His spidey senses. You've got it too. You know when something's going on. You just got to take the time to learn how to meditate. I think when you learn how to meditate, you get to a certain level and you can feel your energy. And when you feel your energy, you know your energy and you know your energy signature. And you also know if something else is around you trying to make you feel a certain way right now so we can feed off of you. Because I think a lot of things put these negative thoughts and stuff in the air and people get so caught up in the negative. I mean, I could give you an example. Me and you were walking in the morning. You're coming one way and I'm going the other. And we're up when we pass it. Hey, Scotty, good to see you out this morning. Beautiful day, isn't it? And yeah, it's a beautiful day. But if you're in a bad mood, you could come home and tell Rainey, I saw that Castle out walking today, and he told me it was good to see me out like he thought I was overweight or something. I think whatever you say doesn't necessarily matter. If the person is in a negative energy, they're going to take it bad, and they're going to immediately move it to the bad. And I think that's all. It's a perspective that you can learn to control.
Now, do you think that any of that has to do with anything other than just being able to control our attitudes, our perceptions?
Absolutely.
I put up a post from a former, he might be active, Marine, and he's talking about positivity. He says the only way to get through your day is you choose to be positive. Now, is that a spiritual thing? Is he doing the same thing we're talking about? Or is he taking it from a different angle?
Yeah, he's putting himself in a good mood. So when he manifests, it's not like automatically the worst thing that you could think has happened. You could be like walking and not paying attention and walk into a telephone pole, or, you can understand where you were at and not be just so distracted by something so shiny every time it comes by. I mean, a lot of these things that you have, there's three things that you have in life while you're here. You either have an experience, you have a distraction, or a lesson. When you have each experience, like any kind of energy exchange, say I touched this bottle right here. Well, I didn't drop it, so that's it's pretty positive. I didn't want to cuss as soon as I picked it up. It's a positive energy exchange. Then let's say I take a drink out of it and I pour some down my chin and it gets on my shirt and then everybody's laughing out there, and that would be, you kind of piss you off. It'd be a negative energy exchange you have right there. And I think that sometimes people experience these different experiences that they came here to do. I think sometimes they get caught up like drugs. let's just take drugs, for example. That's always a great example. So you lived your life all this time without doing this one drug, and you did this one drug, and it made you feel like this, and you're always chasing that feeling again. You always try to chase that feeling. Well, all you're doing is avoiding whatever's causing that feeling. It's kind of like when you go to the hospital and they put a bandage on your arm. They really didn't treat, that bandage didn't treat your wound or anything, but, it kind of makes your attitude feel better. You feel like you're okay. Yeah, I was hurt and I got this bandage on it. Everything's gonna be all better. The bandage doesn't do much. It keeps stuff out of it, I guess. But I mean, it rubs off awful easy. And I think everything here, you need to rip off all the old belief systems. You rip it off like it's a bandage, and you get rid of it, and you're going to be better off for it, because your brain goes from being locked in prison. You're in this little cell because you believe in religion, or you believe in, anything, politics, whatever. Just, I mean, it's all the same side of the same coin. And I think once you start thinking positive and saying things are getting ready to change, I think everybody's hit their enough is enough point. And everybody says, no more. These people shouldn't be suffering. Nobody should be starving. Are you shitting me with people being homeless? I have all kinds of houses around here. Why is anybody homeless? Just move into one of them. There's none of that should actually be happening right now, but they do that to kind of lower the frequency, because it's easiest to control people that are afraid or that are mad,
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree. And, I was trying to formulate a question. What do you do when there's an external that comes in that you can't control, and it's governing the way you do things, the way you respond? And then I answered my own question in my head before I even got there and said, well, it's in our own head. We have the ability to answer any way we want or respond any way we want. It's what we choose to do. And what do you do when you how do you respond to seeing good people who are innately good people acting out of the utter negative, or the utter bringing on the negative, no matter what arena you're talking about, but they're always pointing toward the negative, always pointing. And then they're the people that will want to go to you, point out why you are a problem, or that person is a problem, or another person.
Well, this is your movie. You pick the good guys and you pick the bad guys, Scotty. It's your movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is that the answer to that? It was my movie. When did I make that choice?
When you came here, I think you signed a contract of everything that you wanted to experience. So I think you're having these experiences because you wanted to know what it was like to have them as a human.
All right.
In your meat suit.
All right. But see, now that's very, to me, not to tap into the word for the meditation, but that's a transcendental thing. That is an out of this realm of existence thing. If a decision like that was made by me, my soul, my spirit, in a pre-existence to this corporeal body, I want to go kick myself in the ass sometimes, because I'm like, no, you didn't need to experience this. You needed to experience this. I know what I need to experience in this life. Now, maybe, because what's the answer to that? Is it, the bad choices we've made, or the things that we don't do the right way, or whatever it might be, or
some of my bad choices have been being the best experiences that I could have possibly thought of at the time.
Okay.
So, maybe if you're getting ready to have a bad experience, maybe you can say, well, why can't it be a good experience instead? Let's not make it a bad experience. Let's turn it around, because like I said before, they're going to control you easier once they can control your dreams. And if they put you in that kind of perspective right before you go to bed, well, tell Freddie I said hi. But what I do is I control my dreams. And what I do is I meditate just a little bit before I go to bed, maybe 15, 30, 45 minutes. It's according to how I feel at the time. And when I'm thinking, get in that groove where you're in a good mood and you're really relaxed, and it's the end of the day and you're in a good mood right now because you're getting ready to go to bed. Well, why not just take it a little bit further? Why don't you tell, the voice in your head or in your spirit, or I don't know what it is. It's none of my business. But why don't you tell that thing that I'm going to have the dream tonight, and I'm going to have a dream about being on another planet or in another dimension or somewhere else other than here. And what if it's a positive energy exchange from both, perspective? It's going to be a positive thing that's happened. It's not going to be you running from um, a Succodosaurus Rex dinosaur or anything like that. It's going to be something that you're going to pull to the positive side, and you're going to make it yourself. And at the end, I always say, and let me possibly remember as much of it as I can. And I've learned that I can control my dreams most of the time. I've never had another bad dream, because as soon as I knew I was in dreamland, and I recognized that, and it doesn't take long if you're trying to pay attention to it.
Sure.
Take a couple deep breaths, quit running from whatever you're running for, and ask yourself why you're there. Why am I here? What happened? Because if you can't remember, you're probably in a dream. So once you realize you're in a dream, it's your dream and it's your thoughts. If you're running from something, why don't you think that there's a cabinet right beside you and there's a gun in that cabinet? Or why can't you do that instead of like automatically turning things to the bad? I try to find every bad opportunity. I hope I have a nightmare tonight. That would be the funnest thing in the world, because then I'm going to turn it around and I'm going to make the nightmare go away, and it doesn't work. I turned it on them. I've turned that energy into good energy, and I've sent it back out.
That's a good way of looking at that. And I would also say that's almost what you get with the whole power of positive thinking thing.
Yeah.
That might not tap into the meditation thing. Meditation for me, I talk about it. I've taught about it on this radio show. I talk about its benefits. Yet for me personally, meditation is tough for me to do. I lose it's hard for me to not concentrate on something.
I think you don't meditate. I think you're not treating yourself well. I think you should have to meditate. They should teach that in grade school. It should be a class on how to meditate. That's why you got these kids,
Sure.
if they start getting have them sit there and meditate for a little while and just listen to music, because music will take all that and make it poof, it goes away. You don't really think about anything. Music takes you to a different place. It takes you to different portals in your mind where you were back at a teenager or something, and you were doing something. The black box there, I don't think there's much positive in it. I don't think that other than maybe sports every once in a while. I mean, it doesn't have to be bad, but if it's programming you and telling you how you should feel about a certain this situation, who made it your boss? Who's going to let it take control of you? It doesn't control anything. It has to have your energy. So quit giving it your energy and listen to music that you love to listen to, that puts you in a good mood automatically. You're not mad about anything that anybody's done on TV, because it hasn't affected you.
Okay. Sarah Yusuf said I should have a lawyer look over my contract first.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had somebody guiding us. And is there somebody that guides those decisions?
Yeah.
Those things that we do.
Absolutely.
And so what else did she say?
Yeah.
We have as humans have transformative ability, which seems to be unique.
I also believe that there's if they're not just humans here, there's not just Lyrans here, there's not just Arcturians here, there's everybody here is just kind of like having an experience. And that's why some of our morals and values doesn't fit with other people's morals and values. I'm an Aries, and to me, loyalty and trust are key. I can't have a friend. I can't have anybody around my energy that's not somebody I can trust. I'm liable to do something crazy at any time, Scotty. I might have to have somebody get me out of jail. So I have to have people around me that I can.
Uh-oh. I might have lost you. I'm going to remove you for a second and bring you back in. See if you're there. You had frozen up on me. I might have lost you, David. Just call back in. Here, I'm gonna kick you from the studio at the moment. So, David, if you can hear, just go ahead and call back in. Once your phone tipped over or your device tipped over, and the picture cut off, and then we lost you. So just call back in. So all of this stuff, folks, is stuff that I would say, if I'm not thinking about it, I believe it. I believe that makes a hell of a lot of sense. When I start thinking about it, I put it in the realm of every other kind of belief that's out there. How do you know what is what? Uncle Dave said earlier, yeah, I've been telling that Scotty that for a long time now. I don't know what exactly you were talking about, but you and I have had lots of conversations. But here's David. Maybe that's what you're talking about. It's there. We got your back now. If you have the ability to tip that back a little bit, I'm getting mostly ceiling.
Get that back. Okay. That look good. All right.
Let's see. What do we got going on in the chat room here? Spirit animals, spirit guides, galactic council members, says Romeldian. See, all of that, I hear all of this stuff from Romeldian, from anybody that's got good information to impart. And no offense with this at all, Romeldian. I'm not saying anything you're saying is wrong. I'm just saying my initial gut reaction to all of that kind of stuff from anybody and many different sources is to say, how do we know that's so?
Yeah.
Because there's so many other, it's like with Christianity. When I was in Christianity and ministry and stuff like that, we were all taught certain things that ways the world works and what to do and so on. Then you got another religion that comes along and says, well, it's more like this. Then another one says, well, no, it's not those, not to be negative. It's not those, but it's this, you're missing this point. And you look at all of that and you go, okay, it's like with choosing a religion or a faith. If you wanted to do that, how do you know which one is the one?
Right.
Are they all just, well, it's whatever works for you.
Right.
But what if they all have different messages and different ways of doing things?
When you hear truth, I think you resonate with truth. You more than hear it, you feel it. You feel it like, yeah, that was the truth. I just heard the truth. And I think that that's a lot with your intuition that you're building up and learning how to use. And I think when you get to a certain point, you'll start to hear things and you'll know if it's the truth, you feel it, or if you're like, that makes me feel bad. I don't understand. I think that's wrong. There's a reason why you don't like some things.
Oh, I thought you were still going. I thought that was a dramatic, pregnant pause. No. So, okay. Now, I see things like the pineal gland being mentioned. I know Matthew said something earlier, then Chuck came in and said the pineal gland is a sinus rhythm of your body, your sleep, your emotions, and dreams. Most people don't think of their pineal gland. So that's good information to have to say. That's like saying, you can walk around for how many numbers of years in your life and never know you even have a pineal gland, let alone what it does. Same thing with, say, certain parts of the brain or whatever it might be. Take your choice.
Scotty, I think the pineal glands are like one of the keys that you have to have. And if you're not like feeling something's right or wrong when somebody asks you, maybe you should quit drinking pop. Maybe put down the pop and put down all the like energy drinks and stuff like that and drink purified water. Do that for a little while.
I'm a little reluctant to take a swig here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of got to be. I don't think it's bad to do it every once in a while. I think it's bad if it becomes something that you depend on and you give your energy to every day. Right, that's when it becomes bad.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of soda pop these days. I'm drinking.
That's why I call drugs a distraction.
Trying to drink a lot more water.
Yeah. And drugs are just a distraction. It's something to draw your attention. Oh, this made me feel good. But why were you feeling bad in the first place? That's what we should be treating here. You don't solve the symptom, you fix the problem. And that's what even our medical people do now. They're not fixing what's hurting you. They're fixing the symptom that's coming from what's hurting you. It's like just sticking a Band-Aid on your arm because, It doesn't help. You're not going to get fixed. And then they can put you on more drugs. And those drugs will affect certain like body systems and your organs and your endocrine system. And then you got those kind of problems. Then the next drugs put you on heart problems. And before you know it, when I was 49 or 50, I was on 8 medications that they told me I had to take every day or I was going to die. Well, I quit taking them a few years ago and I'm still going. Nothing's going to tell me what controls me. Nothing's going to tell me I'm going to die or do anything like that.
Sure.
Yeah. If something scares you that bad, you should do it immediately and get over that.
Well, and this goes down to a whole thing too of understanding how things work, because you can say, like with the soda pop, you can look at a can of soda pop and you can say, I can drink that, but I'm drinking that as a subconscious reaction. Is it just because it tastes good, or is it because I'm trying to do something? Maybe I'm trying to get caffeine out of it or something like that. And this is, by the way, this is left over from yesterday, so still sitting on my desk. But we know that water is better for us. But many times we'll drink, now like John Ward and I, when we were in Egypt, and all we drink is coffee. And I said, we need to drink more water out here in the desert. He goes, Scotty, I have my coffee. What's coffee made of? Water. and
Absolutely.
And so the big question comes is, when you start making those decisions, is there some, now go with me, because I'm asking almost a devil's advocate type of a question here.
Absolutely.
Is there a big spiritual conspiracy out there that there are beings that have manipulated humans to create things like soda pop, like opiates, like all those things that we can get addicted to, that take our mind off of where we're supposed to be? Always his mind not where it should be, not doing what he should do, whatever the line was. And so is that what's going on? Is there this great like spiritual? Is this, and this even biblical, if you go biblical, you know, that we're surrounded by a great host of spirits, the princes of the power of the air, the principalities and the powers that be. Is that what you're talking about? Is that what's behind all of this?
Well, what I'm saying is there's things that are all around you all the time and you don't feel their energy. Some of them might feel familiar. You might have known that feeling before. And some people, you're like, when you're around them, you're like, me and that person's exactly alike. I mean, we've got to be from the same place. There's one person I like, 95% of everything is exactly alike. And I don't think there's mistakes for that. I think maybe that person might be from the same area you're from, or at least same planet, or maybe it's just the same being from somewhere, but you all are the same kind of being from a different place. I think there's a lot of people, and there's some that I see on TV that have beliefs like, if you do something that they can cut your arms off and shit like that. And I'm like, if your God is that vengeful, you should go to Walmart and pick out another one. Get one that loves you.
Right.
Get a God that's going to respect you. And when you give it energy, it gives you energy back. Because all this fire and hell stuff, I mean, come on, people. Serious? I live in Ashland, Kentucky. How much worse can it be? And I don't understand what the big hoodoo is about it. To me, if you're on, like, you're going to burn in a lake in hell. And I'm like, oceanfront property, warm. Okay, that sounds pretty good to me. So I don't think it's that bad. It could be a lot worse. And people sometimes add their energy to it to make it worse.
Sure. Before I got something of Sarah's I want to bring up, but Chuck Thurston right after her said, who created cigarettes and why, if not to be harmful? But it's the money. Now, I would ask that question. Did the people who started making cigarettes do it to be harmful?
They do it because humans are a pain in the ass. You must suffer. We're going to give you all kinds of good poison. You're going to eat it up.
Yep. Now we know that. Is that what, when Sir Walter Raleigh walked into the court of Queen Elizabeth and was smoking a tobacco leaf, was that because he was trying to do harm? No, he thought, this is relaxing and comfortable, Your Majesty.
Absolutely.
You should try one. And, rolling tobacco leaves on the supple thighs of Cuban slaves. So, so there's the big question on some of those. Sarah says, how does one navigate these intentions if there are entities that are not looking out for our well-being?
And you can kick their ass, every single one of them, Sarah. You don't have to worry about it. That's why they're there, just to scare you. Sit them back on their ass if they come after you. Oh, you don't be scared of it. Turn around, and you're a powerful being, and that's why they want to eat off you. That's why they want to feed off your energy. So turn around and kick them right in the sack and tell them to get away from you, that you're not interested in that kind of that's not what your jam is. You're not down with that, and move on to something that's pleasant.
Well, there's that, and that's a biblical principle, if you will, too, but also in tarot, when you have when I throw the devil card, I said, this basically is telling me you need to look your demons in the eyes and face off with them. And that's one of the many meanings behind the card, but it was all, either you get control of your life, or your life will control you, or the things that are out there will control you.
And there's always been the devil's scapegoat too. So poor devil, he always gets blamed for everything. Trust me, I know exactly what he's going through. And and people have become dumbed down here so much. Humans become the ignorant race. They've dumbed us down where we don't even question people and what they say anymore. If they said it, it's got to be right. Well, why don't you quit being lazy and go and look and see if it's really true or not? Because I've had a lot of people lately say a lot of things that are just negative and untrue, but you ask them for any kind of evidence or anything, there's never any there. They're trying to control your frequency. They're trying to either piss you off or get people to get pissed off at you. And to me, that's ridiculous. I don't want any part of that. If I want to hate somebody, there's going to be a really good reason why I don't like them. But other than that, I like most people. I get along with most people, and I don't care about, if you're blue or if you're green or if you're from Mars. I mean, okay, do you got a message for me or not? Just because you're ugly doesn't mean you're going to scare me. And I know you're not going to kick my butt. You're not here to do that. So just turn around and take control of yourself.
Well, I like that. I will state I see you out there in the wings. We aren't going to take calls until the captain's cabin, which is after the top of the hour. So if you're out there waiting,
scares you, just yell for me. I'll come and help you.
Yeah. And so David's going to stick around. I think I'm assuming that you're going to stick around for a little bit into the captain's cabin, and we'll open up the lines for people to talk after the top of the hour to call in. So I see you out there, Sterling, especially. I see you out there. We'll grab you after the top of the hour. And so in looking at all of this stuff, maybe we're not getting into as much of the grab bag stuff I've wanted to as I thought we'd get into, because I'm really focusing on this whole thing about meditating, about the powers that be that are out there, the things we need to resist. That message isn't any different. And I'm using Christianity as a contextual hinge pin here, a center point, focal point, because that's my background. But like Sarah's Muslim, and there are others out there of different religions. But if I use that as a focal point, I can say there's a lot of this stuff that you're talking about, it's stuff that biblical Christianity even promotes. It promotes being meditating. It promotes meditating in prayer. It promotes fleeing from the devil, and he will flee from you. And, all of these things are out there already.
If you don't meditate, you really should try. Right, Scotty? You should try it anyway, because you never know what you might like.
I do try it. Let's put it that way. I haven't been successful at it, because it's like when I said like being hypnotized.
Yeah.
I've had people try a couple of times. My mind gets too analytical. I can't let go of the analytical, the here and the now, the in the present moment.
Yeah.
And so it's tough to hypnotize me.
And you've got a lot of people in your house, it's hard to get quiet. Something's always going to distract you, or a sound or something. I have tinnitus. I've had ringing in my ears since my second accident, which I probably died. And when you get this sound in your ear all the time, you can learn to concentrate on it, and you can try to find it where it's at in your brain. You can just like follow it into your brain and find out where the sound's coming from. And when this sound becomes more important than anything else you're thinking about at the time, then you've got focus. You've learned to focus on one thing, and you've learned to put everything else aside. That's what you got to do to get to certain levels. Don't let distractions distract you anymore. You're listening to that sound. You're following it in your brain because you want to know where it's coming from. And that's all you're worried about. And that's your only thought that's in your head. You've almost got everything cleared out. That's the best part, when you'll feel your own energy. You'll feel yourself actually vibrating. It's not as you're just sitting there meditating anymore. You're actually vibrating because you've reached a certain level that it's very hard to get to. I mean, it's hard for a lot of people just to think about one thing. I know I've been hacked a lot recently, and I've only get like 2 to 3 hours sleep a night. And it doesn't bother me that much until the 4th or the 5th night. I think we've been trained to just kind of think we need so much stuff that we might not need that much. You know, we need 8 hours sleep. Well, what if it's better than, you have a study and it's better when you get up at 5 hours sleep? Maybe your brain can grow more. I think it's all about the limitations, like I was saying earlier. You've got a brain prison, and you start pulling out these bricks in this wall. And when you're pulling out the bricks in the wall, your options there's more options to you than just being stuck in that little box anymore. And that's when your brain has a time to grow. Your brain's going to grow again. You just got to have faith in it and get rid of some of these beliefs that aren't true. Come on.
Yeah. I hope you're not talking to me to say that.
I'm just saying in general. To me, even to me, I'm not perfect, Scotty. I'll still screw up sometimes. Believe it or not.
And
not just
a lot of these things are things that I have already come to some determinations about. But like I said, I'm going to ask some devil's advocate questions. I'm going to present some things to you that are right out of the pool of the things that I've thought, because I don't think I'm much different than a lot of people out there, that we all have these questions. We all have these things we want to get answers to. I tend to bristle at the notion that one person or one path seems to have it all the answers and have it all wrapped up. Because I asked the question, well, how do you know what you're believing or practicing is the right way to do that? What's the milepost? What's the plumb line, so to speak?
Well, I think the most important thing to do while you're here is to meditate. I mean, I think that's hands down the most important thing you're to do, because you can turn music on and it can be a healing meditation, or you can have past life experiences, or you can have just relaxation time where you get to unwind because the kids were rowdy today. You can put yourself somewhere other than right there at the time. And I think that's the most important thing, because once you can move, something's upsetting you, just take a couple of seconds, take a couple of deep breaths, and picture yourself there. Okay, you forgot about this thing, and now you're at this beautiful place, and it doesn't bother you. It's easier to let it go after that. You don't hang on to it. It doesn't cause you like medical issues. You've got a way to get rid of it, because you'll get these thoughts and these archons, and they'll stick onto you, and they'll feed off of you. And you can't get that thought out of your head because it's putting you on a certain frequency, and you taste like, a 3-piece chicken dinner or something. They want to stay and they want to eat for a while because you're a high energy being, but now you're being controlled and your thoughts are being controlled and you're actually manifesting bad things. And they're like, hell yeah, that sounds like a party to me.
Yeah. Well, and there are things that Chuck Thurston asks, are you happy? And that's a good question to ask, because sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're not happy.
Yeah,
sometimes, there are things that steal our happiness really quickly. I can have superficial things for me personally. Sometimes superficial things will steal my happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm focused on this thing here, or I'm trying to strive for this thing. And then this thing comes along and it steals your happiness because you let it. And it's not always just because you allow it. It's because it taps into something much deeper. So you've got to go deeper the other way to let it not affect you that way. But then it all just becomes exactly what you're saying. It's the meditation.
And if something happens to you and you didn't want it to happen to you, I mean, say a couple cuss words and move on with your life, and make it into what you really wanted. Because sitting there harping on stuff, it doesn't help. It doesn't help at all. Like I said, I recently got hacked, and I don't get any sleep, and it gets me into a little cranky kind of a mood. I'm already really good at sarcasm, but if I've had 3 hours sleep in 4 days, then I'm really good at sarcasm, and everything that comes out of my mouth at any time is going to be sarcastic, whether it's appropriate or not. And that puts other people in a kind of off mood to you. And I don't know. I don't know where to go from there. You have to get rid of it. Find a way.
Sure.
I mean, punch a bag. Take karate. Something that gets rid of that energy that you don't want.
And I get that. I get those are the things we have to incorporate sometimes to do that. Because we don't seem to, any of us, ever really be on that. It's like I look at somebody like, I'm jumping ahead of my own statement. I look at somebody like, let's take the Dalai Lama. Does the Dalai Lama, does he get pissed off about things? Does he get pissed off when he breaks a shoelace? Oh, wait, he wears sandals. Does he get unhappy because some brother monk said something to him like, do not eat the bananas?
Yeah.
And,
I hate to answer with
a
the cliche, but
today.
You're only human. And that's why there's a reason they say that. Because right now, you are in a human body and you are human, but you got this DNA from other places. And that's why you get confused about things. Because you're doing something here, like let's say you have to go pay for the water bill. And you get in line and you have to mind two people and you start thinking, why am I paying for a water? Are you serious? So much water. Why am I paying for water? Why did they make that rule? Who came up with that and decided to make money off that?
Well, I suppose, see, if I were to think like an entrepreneur, I'd say, now, not everybody can come and make it to my well that I have dug. I put the man hours into this. I put the power. I can give it away for free, but when I can also ship it across country. And people have fresh bottled water. So I have to build a bottling plant. And I do all of that. Now, if you're filthy rich and you got nothing else to do with your money, you want to do that altruistically, that's one thing. But somebody else might say, this is the way I'm going to put a roof over my family's head and the heads of several people who work for me. I got to charge for water because I've got this great artesian spring on my land that comes up, and I'm going to bottle that stuff and sell it and benefit a lot of people. Maybe that's what it is. I understand the point you were making, but
because I mean, you can do anything work, Scotty. You can, I mean, if you could be a janitor or you could be a medical assistant. I mean, the medical assistant might hate their job, might hate it all day long, but knows it pays well and they're staying there. Whereas the janitor knows, I'm a janitor, yeah, fine, but I'm not that busy. I'm doing something I like to do. I don't have to deal with a lot of people that don't agree with some of my beliefs and thoughts, and I get to be by myself, and it's fun. It's a perfect job for me. I'll take it. The issue is, why did somebody make that more than the other job? Why those jobs are they even? They should be even. As long as people want those jobs, your time is what they're paying for. They've got you under control for that time. You get money from them. So what? They get your time and they've used your time. And now they're telling you that his time's more important than your time. I mean, you're in there the same time.
No, I get that. And I think time is worth what people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. Why is gas, as expensive as it is right now? Because people need it and they're willing to pay it. There's going to be a point where people aren't willing to pay it, and there'll be a rebellion of some kind, and they'll change the whole picture.
Yeah,
I get that. And that's the extreme end of something like that. So let's see. We got a couple of minutes left here. I'm trying to see how many minutes we have left here. Not as many as I thought. We got about 3.5 minutes left here. 3 minutes before we've got to walk out of here. But then we're going to go over to the captain's cabin. So
how many people have had experiences like this, Scotty? If they, put a 1 in, I'd like to see how many people have had some kind of strange paranormal experience.
Right. I would ask that. How many of you? A lot of people have. When I ask for paranormal stories, You know, we get a few that always want to tell their stories, but then we gradually you find out everybody else has got weird stories too.
I get a bunch of them. Yeah, I get a bunch of them because I didn't know I'm not scared of them just because they look different than me. And they might be a little bit ugly, but they might not think I look really, really good as well either. So, I mean, that's just a perspective. Just because something's ugly doesn't mean it's going to be mean or it has bad energy, you know?
Sure. I get that. And so I think less than dealing with the paranormal in general on that question, I'm more about I lost my train of thought on that. We'll catch it. We'll catch it when we get back to the captain's cabin in a couple of minutes. So what do we got? We got we got about 2 minutes left here. And so let's, for the radio audience, let's let them know where they can reach out to you, maybe talk to you, have a conversation with you if they want. How do people find you?
I'm on Facebook Messenger. You know, if somebody wants to talk to me, it's fine. I don't have my website. I'm not that one of those kind of people. I don't have like a YouTube channel. It's just, if somebody asks me on, they ask me to explain stuff. I think it's in my contract where I can't refuse. I have to do it. If I can possibly help one person,
there it is.
That's all that you can help. But you help somebody move along in their yellow brick road. You've thrown them a breadcrumb, and now they can make it back.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. And I still have to have a conversation with you on my own. It's finding the time because there's so much going on. And but I do want to talk with you some more about some of the things we were talking about. So, folks, here's what I want you to do. Go look up David. Go say hello to David over on his social media. And at the same time, you can also stick around for the captain's cabin tonight. It's not going to be very long. I can't do a long captain's cabin tonight for various
Scotty
reasons.
brought a keg and hors d'oeuvres. You can come and have them at the cabin.
There you go. So, so why don't those of you, to the radio audience, I want to say good night. I want to say thank you for being here. If you want to stick around for a few minutes over at the captain's cabin, you can do that, and we'll hopefully make it worth your while. So live long and prosper.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid Radio Program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Well, welcome back, everyone who never left. We're still here. This is the captain's cabin. It can be a little more informal here. This is the time when I like to be able to take your calls. If you've got some information that you want to add to the story here and what we're doing, we're not going to be around for a long time tonight. I cannot, for various reasons. I have to do a little traveling tomorrow. And so I've got to wrap things up a little earlier than normal tonight. And so, and the captain's cabin, it's just an extra. It's what we do when we have time to do it. And we've usually got time, but tonight, not so much. So, David, where'd we leave off? We can shift gears a little bit here, I think.
Okay.
Maybe start talking a little bit about the paranormal aspects of this. Said we wanted to talk about ghosts and things like that. How do you see that fitting into all of this stuff you're talking about?
Well, I think that we're in a 3D energy and 2D or 1D energy or 5D energy, maybe 4D energy. You know, I think there's a certain kind of a path where some of these things can get here and come here, sometimes on purpose, and sometimes maybe they're stuck here. Maybe something, they got a ball and chain tied through the leg because they won't get rid of something that's stuck in their head. And maybe that's as simple as having that experience, maybe getting experience over, and then maybe they can move on. Or maybe they're stuck and they're afraid, and you can never do anything hardly right when you're afraid. So if they wouldn't be so afraid and do what they needed to do, maybe switch that aspect of things and don't let things control you. Say enough is enough. If this is my dream or this is my experience, and I'm not going to make it a bad experience. I'm going to make it something that's at least positive or something I can learn from.
Okay. Professor Bauer, welcome.
Greetings, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm not doing too bad.
Hey, Professor.
What do you got to add to that?
Whoa. Well, I think for me, I've always got to start at the nut of the nugget because there's all kinds of stuff to get through to get to the nut. You know, what is the real reality of that which is? So I kind of always go back to the consciousness thing, because if you don't have consciousness, there is no reality.
There's that.
So you kind of then, for me, I look at how does consciousness manifest? How do we each individually become the unique identity of consciousness that we are? And that comes from the nature and habit of consciousness, which is to create things and it's like in Taoism, which I follow, the idea of the Tao, the way, is cannot be described. It can't be explained. It just is. So that isness, if you will, is manifest, becomes reality through the energy that comes from consciousness. So consciousness creates energy, or the habit nature of consciousness is energy. And then it expresses itself from everything that I have personally seen, and what I call my my personal empirical experience, my P,
Your P
is that it seems as though this consciousness has a habit of creating things, and that creation manifests, at least for the reality we experience, in certain ways. And, you know, our habit and our nature of consciousness is pattern recognition, and to be able to, you know, define things in ways that we can relate to them, right? So we see regular patterns, we see all these kind of things that happen. It seems as though this creation process that consciousness and energy does creates all kinds of different frequency sets, because energy is frequency. So the frequency and the frequencies in the frequency fields that are about manifest in all kinds of really interesting, and in some cases bizarre, from our own personal experience.
I got a question for you, Professor.
Yes, sir.
Before you get too far off that subject, do you think your brain is capable of making these stories up that you're seeing in your head? Or do you think they're kind of like a computer's way back memories, that you were somewhere else doing something else and you weren't quite looking like you do today?
So I separate the brain from the mind, and the mind is where that's our frequency stamp of consciousness. We each have this unique frequency stamp that manifests in what we experience, and at least call at this point consciousness. So the brain is, to me, is nothing. It's the same thing as the other organs that we have. We have lungs to breathe, heart to pump. We have a brain which is the organ of the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So if you think of the mind as the place where consciousness and our biology meet, then you will feel the experience of consciousness through the biology of the mind interacting with the biology. but the mind itself is the origin component of our consciousness, of our existence. Because without your mind, without thinking, without the ability to think, without the ability to observe and be curious and then go play in your own field of imagination that should be fertilized by your curiosity, then all this amazing stuff happens. So let me try to wrap it back to what you were talking about. So having other entities have any kind of influence or interaction or existence is, to me, just another frequency set in the universal consciousness. It's just another expression that consciousness and energy has done that we are not necessarily aware of. Now, and it's interesting because when you think about all the things that we use that we cannot see, we only know they're there because the device we have makes it so. But we don't see the waves of energy that those devices are picking up. They're invisible. And all of these different components of sense, our senses, in a sense, a larger sense of telemetry. What kind of information can we pick up? And I think we pick up all these different things: sound, light, the sensation of touch. All of that are manifestations of the energy of the consciousness that we've Ubered this meat sack for this iteration. I'll leave it at that.
Oh. Okay. Whoa.
I could go on, but
I'm done now. I could go on, but I won't. That's the atypical Professor Bauer. Okay, I get that. I'm trying to think of how to respond to that exactly when you talk about Howie Odell says here, what about the other 33%? And what do you do with, let me add a more spiritual wrinkle to this, just out of Christianity. Mm-hmm. There was an interesting passage, and I want to say it's in the book of Peter, where he talks about, and in those days being the code word for either the end times, the eternity yet to come. And in those days, our minds will be opened. And I don't know if he meant, I'm thinking of the context. I don't know if he meant the latter times or the times afterward, the afterlife. But that ties into some other things that he had said in the New Testament. He talks about how little of our minds that we use. And, you know what that ties into for me is how they say we only use 12% of our brain or something like that in our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. And we muse about that and say, what would be the capacity? If we could use the capacity of our brains, what could we do? What will we see? What will we know? This is what Howie Odell's a question about the 33%. What about the other 33%? He said.
Have you seen the movie Lucy with Scarlett Johansson?
Mm-hmm.
Lucy.
Great movie.
I have not seen that one.
Okay. Highly recommend it, if nothing else, because of the relevance to what we're talking about. The premise of the movie is that she's, I think, in Hong Kong, somewhere in Indonesia, and there's a drug cartel that has, I think it's HC4, and it's this incredible biological DNA enhancing drug that is just incredibly powerful. It's not just a psychological thing, it's an entire body thing. You get these incredible effects and positive things. Well, she gets they're smuggling it over in people. She becomes one of the people that they stick a bag of this stuff in, and against her will, right? And so it ends up getting broken. And she goes through this process of mental and physical evolution in a very, very short time.
Okay. I haven't, I guess I have seen that, but only bits.
You know what I'm talking about, David?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love that movie. I got Lucy 10 feet from me.
Yeah, and it what's interesting about it is that, and Morgan Freeman is the professor that she eventually tracks down. Just her entire capacity of experience just transforms. into this otherworldly, ethereal existence. In fact, at the end, she morphs, right? Morphs into a huge glob that consumes all the computers and then spits out a USB with all the information.
And it was easy for her after she got rid of those false belief systems that were stopping her, you know?
Exactly. Because the whole key in the growth of her mental acuity and intelligence was gathering all this knowledge. It was just like it was a knowledge vacuum. Just everything came in, and she was able to look at it for what it was, without any preconceived ideas, and just absorb the information, and then go through her own expanded capability to process this amount of information. And that's one of the problems that people are challenged with now, is that there's so much information from so many realms. And I mean, just a complete tsunami across all knowledge domains to the point of consciousness, which is why I've been focused. It's become my focus, because it seems as though consciousness is where everything happens.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have consciousness, you really don't have reality, or at least a reality that we understand or know of, right? So in order to function in this common cosmic consciousness band that we call reality, there's certain ways in which we all experience the same thing. But then there's all those things that poke out and around and in and through this common band that are way outside of it. When you have, just like having experiences of other entities, whether they're part of the celestial cousins and neighborhood that we inhabit, or whether they are just different frequencies, things that we today would call interdimensional, right? They come in and they go. To me, that's the nature and habit of the frequency field that we are experiencing and that we express ourselves in, because we seem to have some kind of commonality in the way that we all consciously experience things. But when we each have something that's completely unique to us, can't share that with anybody. You can try,
Right?
You can express it a little bit, but you, at a minimum, are limited by whatever language and understanding that you have of that experience, so that you can express it. And that's where I think Dave, what he was talking about earlier, because of the conditioning, when you have experiences that are outside or poke real hard or rip the envelope on your perception, when you have an experience that does that to it, you kind of go, whoa, wait a minute, you get a little bit of a tilt going on, and you have to sort through what that really means to you. And sometimes it takes time. Other times it's so intense and out of the blue that you go, whoa, what was that? And you're forced to process it, right?
Right.
But to me, those are all just expressions of the energy and the frequencies that make up the universe we inhabit.
Sarah Yusuf, you're here.
Hey guys.
You've been here for a while.
Yeah.
So, you have anything you want to add into the fray here? Into the
you
mix?
were remarkably, I have to say, Sarah, that you were remarkably restrained, and it was duly noted and appreciated.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, to go back to frequency, which I want to go back into a little bit, and I know that you guys are talking about, you guys kind of like sort of not really skim over or take for granted is the human ability to manipulate and change energy, right?
Yes.
That seems to be something that's unique to us. And if there are other entities, beings, which I'm sure there are, we live in a sea of energy, different dimensional states and whatnot. And there may be, like we were talking about earlier, about parasitic beings that will try to manipulate our emotional state so they could feed or whatever. But it's always about, trying to do that transformative part of energy, even in the field of classical demonology. the main thing that, at least from my studies from different faiths, and the main thing that combats evil is compassion. We go through life and have negative experiences, and from that we learn to have compassion for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
So through compassion, it seems that and it's not just, I'm sure not just with David, but other people who are, under similar experiences that I've talked to said that, that's the whole idea of, we're going through the stuff that we're going now and entering a new age in where compassion is ultimately the goal, whatever's going to rule. So it's interesting. I mean, it's interesting, and everybody has their own journeys, how they get there. I mean, much like you, Scotty, I have a hard time meditating.
Yeah, it's tough for me.
Just to be able to do that. I mean, I still try to do it, but my mind is like ping pong balls in a windstorm. I have thoughts going all over the place, and just have too much going on. But
yeah, that's me. It's like I say, I talk about it a lot. I teach it about it, and yet for me, I've been very successful at it very few times. And
I think part of the problem that people have with what YouTube may actually you'd kind of be experiencing is the perspective of what meditating means and what it and how to do it. Because I think that there's a narrative and a perspective that it's something where you have to just clear the mind. And clearing the mind is bullshit. That just doesn't happen. So if you focus on trying to be getting to that point, that's a point you get to where you can actually clear your mind after you've practiced a shitload of meditating. Okay.
It's a portal. It's a portal.
Exactly. And you have to figure out what that frequency is, and you dial into it. And you can do this with your mind and through your brain as it connects into your body and all the senses that we have, and you can really transform and focus it. One of the things that's interesting, there's a professor of mechanical engineering I think he was out of Stanford back in the 60s. And he was a material engineer, right? Scientist. Well, he wanted to figure out if focused attention could impact anything materially. So he set up an experiment where he had a group of people focus intent on changing the temperature in several different types of liquid. And all of his results were, yes, he just had these people focus on it, and it raised and it lowered as the intention was focused. He did the same thing with DNA and several others. But because I think it's not really well known, they want to keep this kind of information, which goes back to, I think, one of the points you were making, Dave. The information of how we actually function, what our reality really is, has been purposefully obfuscated, and it's been manipulated into a paradigm by people who understood the true reality and had the information. And this is where you get the mystery schools, you get the secret societies, the mystic arts, all the different places where this knowledge, this information, and Scotty, you know about it with the Egyptian mystic school. Sure. and they basically looked at everything very similar to Pythagoras and the Pythagorean model. And that is that the entire universe is conscious. It wasn't until Descartes kicked off this current science model that everything is under, which just doesn't make any sense. But up until him, everything was conscious. Not only were we conscious, but the earth was conscious. Plants, flora, fauna, the trees, mountains, planets. The sun was conscious. The whole universe was conscious, which to me makes a hell of a lot more sense than anything else that's been proffered to date, because anything else, including that, is all speculation.
Yeah.
So all you have is how you end up speculating on that which you experience based on the tools that you have to sort out that experience.
Right.
And you have to remember that we're constantly not only changing energy, we're constantly giving it out, whether you call it an auric field or whatever. Everything has a cascade effect, that whole butterfly effect to it.
Everything's connected.
Absolutely. And somebody's energy and limitations might not be yours. Everybody's got different limitations.
Everybody's frequency set will resonate differently in the universe that it encounters.
Yeah.
Because that's part of what makes us the unique identities we are.
What do you think about absolutes or absolutism?
I don't think there is such a thing. Everything is subjective for me. I mean, at least.
For me, the only thing that's absolute is change, which is the same thing as the only constant is change. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm absolute about change.
Well, I've said for many years the only absolute is that there are no absolutes. So,
I think we're all on this kind of a TV frequency. It's a sound frequency. Nobody's higher than everybody else. We're all here. That's why we're all at this level, because if you were trying to find this channel and you weren't ready to hear this channel, you wouldn't even be able to locate it. There's reasons why you're here. There's reasons why you found it. And you, on your experience, you put your breadcrumbs in the things that you like most. I put mine in music. I like to listen to music, and I get all these messages while I'm listening to music. Somebody else might get it in books. Somebody else might get it in something else. It's what you like the most that's telling you where your breadcrumbs are located.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I've said as much when I say, sometimes I'll get a message through a book, a song, a TV commercial, a shoelace. So, and they all prompt different things in our minds.
It's all about intake of, stimulus and how our brain and how we choose to process it.
That's it. Hey, Sterling, how you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
What's on your mind, brother?
Oh, cheers. Well, I recognize a good Southern accent when I hear one. David, you got a great one. Are you from the Carolinas? If you don't mind me asking.
He's from Kentucky.
That's how we lost him the first time.
Okay, I guess I was
the
wrong.
The phone went out on him, and when he moved it. That's what happens to me. Whenever I'm on a show and I'm using my phone, I don't touch it anymore. If I touch it, it goes to shit, and you lose me on the show. So,
well, thanks for having me. What are we discussing tonight, you guys?
Oh man, it's how would I encapsulate this? It started. I just wanted David on to talk a little bit about the things that I'm going to take him out of here. By the way. How's that for being redundant? I'm going to take him out, so if he wants to try to get back in, it'll be a little easier to recognize who he is, because I'll get two windows with him. We started out by just wanting to tap David's knowledge a little bit on aliens and UFOs and stuff, and I probably get a little more. I don't know if this is the right word, but so I won't use it. I get too much in my head on this stuff. And I try to gauge these things by my personal understanding of things. And when I do that, I lapse out of what I know and I go into the way I used to think, the way I know a lot of other people think out there. And I want to ask those questions from those perspectives, which are, how do we know that what we're talking about is the right way to do this? How do we know these things? And so it's I think what all of these shows that we do are really about is trying to find the right way to find the way to zero in on understanding what is the right way to think about things. How do we process things with our brains? How do we look at, I listen to Professor Bauer many times talks about this is the whole, what's the word you use for the rewiring of everything, the rebooting?
Well, there's the knowledge apocalypse, which
Right.
we are in. It's unfolding, and we're tumbling around in the waves, and there's a
Right.
lot more coming. But it's the informatica,
The
which
informatica,
is what all these data points are. The informatica is the expression of this consciousness stuff that Sterling. That's what I was going on for a good long while, and I was greatly appreciative of the fact that Sarah was so kind in letting me ramble.
Yeah,
I thought you were
brakes on.
because she'll talk right over you if you're not
I'm
careful.
pretty sure. I guarantee you, it's coherent. You're being very humble.
Well, my point is that the idea is all of these experiences, and this is just my perspective, all these experiences, all the different entities, celestial cousins, manifestations, astral travel, remote viewing, clairvoyance, all of the different modalities and in the ways in which we get information, which is what the informatica is about. There's all this information, there's all this telemetry, there's all this data, and that's we function on it, but we really don't understand it. It's like, the problems with both gravity and electricity. We use it, we think we understand it, but there's no agreed to scientific definition of what they are. There's all kinds of new formulas and men and math and models and machines trying to crank out something, but there's nothing definitive. There's only the personal empirical reality that you experience. So if you start from there, and then you can build out and add only the shit that makes sense to you, or you want to know more about, or your curiosity's getting cranked up, so you want to go play in your field of imagination and plan all kinds of shit and have fun, then that's what you should do, because that's where the magic is. The magic is in the mind.
Yeah.
It's not in the brain. It's not in the body. Those are important and required inputs to the experience, but they are not the experience. It is a focused experience, iteration, if you will. I think of the whole reincarnation thing as the is, to me, wrong. It's just another iteration of your frequency stamp that you get when you become an individual piece of consciousness. That stamp is the spirit, what makes you you. And so when that happens, if it can happen to us, think of all of the other, just in your imagination, all the other different ways in which reality could manifest, other types of expressions of this humanoid construct, other expressions of different ways of consciousness, telepathy. I mean, it's just, all you got to do is listen to some of the crazy, what would be considered in the crazy category of any one of these disciplines, particularly in the metaphysics space. And you can find some amazing shit from galactic federations to other entities that are specifically designed to go screw with things and cause havoc and trouble and everything in between. And you look at it, and to me, it's just, okay, some of it I've experienced, some of it I haven't, but I have seen enough, and the way I think about the universe enough, in the energetic sense, is I've look at those two and I go, well, yeah, it could be. That's a possibility. But the only thing I have to go on is my own personal empirical experience.
I'd like to jump in.
And after that, it's all speculation.
I'd like to jump in.
Go, please do.
And I would like to reflect off of, and again, thanks for having me so much. I heard you, Professor. That was interesting. I'm fascinated. And I would like to play off of what Scotty said, though, first of all, because what he said more so, and take no offense, Professor, but what he said is what I'm more so interested in, because I feel like he hit a nail on the head with me personally, because what he said was not, and what I think he said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scotty.
Okay. If it's good, I'll accept it.
It was good. It was good. Because what I think I heard you say was that it's not necessarily, we want to know what is true. Yeah, we want to know true things. Sure. But I'm also interested in, perhaps more so, interested in how you came to believe that that thing is true.
How you arrive at it. I put the question kind of, okay, if this is the truth, who is the purveyor of that truth? How do I know I have arrived at truth when I'm there? It's one of those things where there was an old phrase that we used that it's like humility. Once you say you've got it, you've lost it. I'm humble, but I found the truth. How do we know that? Now, there are certain things you can know. I just picked up this knife that's sitting on my desk. Odd thing to be having just sitting on my desk.
Drop it.
There it is.
Drop
it. Without its sheath. And I found that on the floor upstairs over the weekend. And I thought, why is that there? So I pick up a knife. Here's a truth. I picked up a knife. But then you might have your odd duck might come along. Maybe he's more right. And he'll say, you didn't really pick up that knife. You did blah, blah, bloody with it. And I'll say, okay.
There is no spoon.
There is no spoon. Exactly. And I'll say, okay, that is very interesting. Who is the purveyor of that truth? What is the source point for that truth?
I think that, what is considered true for, comes to the individual who's having that experience, experiencing and accepting things that are true. It comes from us internally in something that seems very basic and innate, right? Whatever we think is true, it flips the good on switch. What is bad, it flips it the other way. I mean, we are all entities in this life where we're basing on physical experience. We're all what is it? Is it Skinner? No, positive and negative reinforcement is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Based on what's true. If we think having truth is a good thing, we consider that we get a good feeling. We said, okay, that's a positive thing, knowing the truth, right? Rather than not knowing the truth. If not knowing the truth produces a positive experience, nobody would care about it, right? Because we are naturally programmed, if you will, to seek out positive and pleasurable experiences.
Okay.
Yes, and I would I'd add this. Noam Chomsky, the famous thinker, and I think he's mainly through his writings. He said that he felt that humans have a innate linguistic capacity, meaning that there doesn't matter where you're born, what race you are in particular, but whatever delineations, that the ability to learn an language was innate. Okay. So, and that makes sense to me.
It makes sense.
To the point
it obviates itself.
Yeah, to the point both Sterling and Sarah were making. The way that I feel about that is that it resonates with me. I have a sense that sounds like it makes sense. So, I guess, Sterling, to your point about how do you know when something is true? Well, the only way you know something is true either is to have some kind of empirical
truth meter.
Well, no, it's to have an empirical experience. Because how many times have you experienced something, thought it was true, and then found out later it wasn't anywhere near true? That happens a lot, and it's going to be happening a lot more going forward, which is going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be highly entertaining watching people go, wait a minute, I thought this was reality, but it's really this.
Right.
And
it's like Uncle
really
Dave.
Sadistic.
Yeah. I mean, it will
is.
be in some ways, but my point there is that because, and I think this is what I'm going to try to wrap this around to what you're mentioning, Sterling. If Chomsky's right that we have this innate linguistic capacity, then I think that can be extended to a whole bunch of other things. We have an innate sense of empathy. That is another innate component of our existence. We have an
What about
innate
sociopaths?
ability to organize and cooperate. We have, and these are also can be thought of as different intelligences, but at a minimum, there's something that triggers those particular aspects of our existence that we seem to share in common. Empathy, wanting to help people, being more productive, taking care of things, doing something, whatever that might be. And those innate capacities of our existence are the things that are being under assault the most. And they're the ones that are being manipulated to the point of this constant state of angst and frustration and the whole FUD factor and all of that, which we're seeing in our society right now. But that is unfortunately, a necessary precursor to this evolution that we're going to go into, which is going to be more of this being aware of your empathetic and your altruistic energies and the innate nature of those that we have for them. I mean, that's why love is always the go-to for everybody, right? And well, love has got how many different definitions, how many different ways is that particular energy expressed? A whole shitload. And it's very unique to each individual. That's why fairness is not a word that you can define other than what one's perspective is of it. Something, a moral value, ethics are all individually assigned. You pick how you feel about those things, and then you express yourself accordingly. Well, the important thing is to make sure that you've vetted that which you feel so intensely about, and you have at least gotten enough information. You're going, yeah, I'm definitely want to continue down this road. This is some good stuff.
Sure.
Because there's plenty of that. That's what reality and consciousness has given us, is all this incredible, not scarcity, completely the opposite. We have more abundance now than ever. We can do more and create more, and it has been more created in the last 20 years than in the last 200 or 300 combined. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to see more of that, and that to me is going to be really exciting.
Now, Uncle Dave said earlier that truth makes it becomes self-evident. He said more other things. It's self-evident that you know when you stumble on it. But I don't like the arbitrary nature necessarily. Okay, here's where there's a dichotomy in me. I don't want to be told what I have to believe. But at the same time, I don't want to have to figure out what is self-evident and what is not. Because what is self-evident for me, I could say that is self-evident. I believe that. That is the truth. And somebody else might look at you and go, you're an idiot. That is not how that works. So I could believe I could believe a truth about it. But then again, am I really believing truth if I am wrong about it? If I believe it's self-evident, am I creating the self-evidence in my own head? Or is it self-evident because it's like, oh, Shazam, there's the truth.
We'll see, and this is again where the weaponization and the control of the paradigm has been extremely effective. Yeah. Something that's truth is subjective. Something that's a fact is objective. Two completely different things, and they've been manipulated to make people think something that they're not, or to get them confused with the meaning, because that's been the other very shady, and I got to give them an A on execution on the whole language thing. I mean, taking words and not only changing meanings on existing ones, but creating new ones that have these very fluid definitions depending on who you're talking to. And you go, well, I'm having a hard time with, this language adoption and being able to converse in your speak, because we got to get some level words here that we can agree on. And that's where they've caused a great disconnect in the social fabric. They being those that are losing the energy of the cycle that's ending and have run their course, and they know it's over. So it's a bunch of wailing and gnashing of teeth and flailing about,
Sure.
stuff getting thrown at walls and everything else. The kitchen sink's getting dumped, the oven's on full blast. But it is, and it has to change simply because it's not in control. These energies have just ridden that wave and have exhausted it. So on the way out, it's just going to be a bunch of nasty stuff, and it's necessary because you need to do that. But when you have the consciousness of free speech, of being able to, and that's probably the most important bug that's running around and eating holes in the fabric of society, is the concept of being able to say what you think within the limits of, if you're clearly saying, I'm going to come and take you out, then okay, well, that's you've crossed the line, because now you're threatening, some physical harm. But to make a mockery of that, or to put it into the context of, look at these yo-yos, whatever you might want to do, the point is that you should be able to take all free speech and let it live in the marketplace of free ideas. Okay. And the marketplace will do the censoring. The marketplace will put up with it for a while, but the collective marketplace it's either going to ignore it, or through enough of rejection, it'll just go away on its own. And that, to me, is one of the most important things that we are now seeing through all these different social platforms, and particularly the way that this young man, Elon, he is waving it hard, and he's hitting everything he's waving it at. And
Very
it's
true.
like, well, let's see what else you got.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
right.
That's my point.
Well,
You want to go ahead, Sterling?
Sure.
go ahead.
Of course I do. Thank you. So many things. The first thing I would mention is that what I think Scotty was really touching on is epistemology, the study of knowledge. And I follow a bunch of epistemology channels here on YouTube. Peter Boghossian, Anthony and Magna Bosco, Pine Creek, or just to name a few. But what you touched on is so fascinating, Scotty. How do we know that we're true? And Professor, you did it as well. Like, just because you claim it, are you on solid ground? And if it convinces you, then you should be able to demonstrate that. And that's where I disagree with you, Professor. Once the time is to believe in something is once it's been demonstrated to you, not because someone told you, but because they demonstrated it. They showed you the formula. They said, go test it for yourself if you don't believe me. That's the point in which we should believe something that is true. And epistemology challenges you in a sense. It challenges you and it questions you on that thing that you believe. Any claim. Gender is binary. There is a God. Jesus resurrected. It doesn't matter. It could apply to anything. Once you make that claim that you believe, then epistemology tracks you down and says, okay, so what convinced you that was true? Yeah.
So I hear what you're saying, and let me correct you on one thing.
Oh, please.
I do think that we are, in fact, the whole nature of consciousness and the mind is to create, and we therefore create what it is that we have in our mind. When you're in your field of imagination, that's when you begin to visualize. Once you visualize, then you can realize and materialize. And that's how that consciousness energy works.
Kind of lost me, and I want to jump in right there. You kind of lost me because what I thought I heard you say was that it's all about personal experience, and I disagree with that, because just because you had a personal experience doesn't mean that it's true. And there's only one reality. You can have yours, and I can have mine, but we must agree that there's only one true reality that's maybe in the middle. That it doesn't matter. The point of it is that there's only one. And the fact is, just because
it's way over there, and neither of us are anywhere.
Sterling, I don't know if you were on when I went through this earlier, but to me, the consciousness that creates the reality we inhabit and that we experience only can be, the only truth you can know that is a fact is your own personal experience.
Bogus.
Whether
I disagree with.
hold on.
That's what I disagree with.
I understand. I'm gonna qualify that. So there is nothing that you can tell me, Scotty can tell me, Sarah, or anybody else,
sure,
that you've experienced that I can have that same experience.
No,
I may have something. No, hold on. I may have something similar, but at the end of the day, your consciousness that you filter your experience of reality in is that's all you have. You don't have anybody else's consciousness.
It's not a because
okay. So let me add this piece that might make more sense. So because we are all a part of the consciousness, we are an individual consciousness stamp. We have our own frequency set, right? That makes us individually who we are. Our individuality is a part of the whole consciousness. That's why we exist. In the reality that we're in now, there's a band of commonality that we all share so that we can exist in what we're doing. But there's all kinds of expressions inside and out of that,
sure,
that are only individual. So, because that's all you have is your own reality, your own experience of reality.
No, it's not.
Okay. Explain to me how you see it.
You will have to stop talking first. I'm not sure that you're ready.
No, please go ahead.
Things that I know to be true aren't because I experienced them, right? If I heard voices, I would question myself psychologically, and I would wonder, am I crazy or did I hear them? So just because you think that you had an experience doesn't make it true. And no, that's not all that I have. That's not that's not what I base truth on. What I base it on, again, is what's been demonstrated. And what I would claim to know.
Scientific method?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is that
okay? I'm with you. Okay, I agree. Scientific method.
That's not what I said. Excuse me.
I was asking if that's what you meant.
Well, let him finish his
that's what
point
you meant.
first. Let him finish his
You
point.
interrupted now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Sterling.
Go ahead, Sterling.
Please, man, that's all I want. So again, the allegation that all I have is my personal experience to base my truth on is fallacious. Because what I base my truth on, and you could be different and you would be wrong, but what I base my truth on is what's been demonstrated and what I can also demonstrate to you. So the fact that I know something, you claim that I couldn't express it to you because it was just my experience, and that's false. I could show you, and I could prove it to you. I could show you the equation that 2 + 2 = 4. I could demonstrate it to you. I could drop that knife that Scotty had and demonstrate gravity to you. And just because we call it a theory doesn't mean that it's not a fact. I could demonstrate it to you and I could show you the equation, and that's how I know it. And that's when you should believe it. Not because I claim to have some sort of divine intervention or even personal relationship or personal experience of any sort. It's hogwash. With all due respect, Professor, and I appreciate you and I like you. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate your perspective. I will put it from my perspective and my speculation back to you this way. Everything that you mentioned as far as being able to do equations, I don't care if it's Schrodinger's models or any of the various ways in which math and equations have been assembled to demonstrate an observation, I'm with you. Because that data, that's metrics in the matrix. That's just a set of data that's been defined so that you can then observe how that calculation and that flow happens and results in the reality that it expresses, right? That's why we can shoot rockets. We can do microwave technology on our phones. All of that is because of that math, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I agree with you. You can show me that and I'll look at it. And if I agree with it and I've already done my research, I say, yep, I'm with you. If I looked at it and said, yeah, but there's some other information that I think would be relevant to this equation, and would you be open to that being introduced? into that empirical data experience.
Yes, because
Okay.
what you're saying is that you're going to disprove my science.
No, you've made a leap
Or
there.
add to it,
No,
perhaps.
you've made a leap. Disproving would not be my intent.
May I?
My intent would be to add to the discussion.
You truly are a professor. You truly are, in every sense of the word.
To me, it's just logic.
Yeah, your own. But what I'm trying to tell you is that there's a better logic, which is not yours and it's not mine. It's demonstrable. It's demonstrable. Do you understand?
Well, I hear what you're saying. I think the words you're using may be not as accurate as you may want them for what I think you're trying to express.
Go on.
Okay.
Go on.
So again, the science, being able to physically express and show information and share it with somebody, we do that. That's how we live. That's that common band of consciousness that we all inhabit.
Come on.
Makes sense?
Okay.
You with me?
Get to it. Come on.
So if you look at how that reality is delineated, which means the math, which means the models and the formulas and all that stuff, it's very limited from what's available. It's not all of the information that's available and being considered. I can go on for hours, as everybody knows. You want to talk about an example? You want to talk about an example? Let's talk about climate change. Would love to get into that model.
Before we get into that, before you guys,
Well, we don't have much time left. We've only got a couple of minutes.
Anyway, my
okay,
point is,
let me just say one thing.
Yeah.
If the truth is something that is experienced through, everybody can experience it. If that's true, you cannot base the truth on education, because everybody's education is going to be different. So it has to be something that is innate. It has to be something that we all experience, the shared experience.
yes,
Right?
agreed.
I can agree with that.
Okay. So
No, I don't agree.
okay, yeah, of course you don't.
Why do you say that?
That's fine.
Why do you say that?
Because everybody has different opinions.
Oh, but everyone else agreed. But you said, of course, I don't.
Well, because you were disagreeing with him.
I think that's because you were presenting a different point.
Yeah,
you were the presenter of the point, the source point.
All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I would say is that what is innate is what you're born with. Yeah, that's what you mean, right? So the truth is not innate, because you don't necessarily know things at birth that you might think that you do, but that doesn't make them true. It's not something that's innate. People born hundreds of years ago might have thought the earth was flat. And even kind of to this day, some people do. I was on the channel earlier. But no, so the truth is not something that's innate. The truth is something that must be demonstrated. And the only way you can demonstrate something is after birth, through knowledge, through science, through demonstration. And these things cannot be accomplished before birth.
Sterling, can I ask you a question? What philosophy, scientific model do you either follow or prefer in the way that you go through being able to demonstrate something? What is there a particular one you follow? Are you Neoplatonist?
You hit on it earlier. I'll just put my cards on the table. Yeah, the scientific method, sure.
Yeah. But do you have a specific discipline within that? Because there's a number of different philosophies that approach it differently.
Yes.
And what is that?
I believe in my flying man ancestor. Have I ever told you about that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think I heard about it.
Well, my great ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon. Did you know that?
And how did he accomplish that?
Well, not by material things. He didn't have a system or a computer or any sort of machine. He didn't have a jetpack or anything like that. But he actually flew across the Grand Canyon. Yeah. Do you believe that?
Well, when and how again did it?
1,000 years ago, by his own nature. Yeah.
I think not only does that make sense, I think this is one of the things that I think we're going to see in this new evolution of stuff is A lot of the ancient technologies and capabilities as it relates to frequency and sound are about to be revealed.
Do you believe my ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon?
If you say they did, that's all I can go on.
So do you believe that it was actually true?
I say it's a possibility.
Do you believe it's true?
Not just on your word alone.
I believe
I
it's
wouldn't
a
say that
possibility,
because
but there's
I
no
would
way
have
I
to
can
consider
believe
the
it to be
source.
true. I'm not you.
I'm claiming that it's true. I believe that
Okay.
it's true, and I'm asking you, do you believe it's true?
I choose to believe you, and that is your experience. I don't know if it's true or not. I believe you think
choose our
you
beliefs?
believe.
Can you
Yeah.
choose to believe that you're a purple dinosaur? Of course not. You can't choose.
Well,
to
here
kind
let's take it down to religion. You can choose to believe you're a Christian. You
Yeah.
can choose to believe the tenets of Christianity.
You sure you can?
But at the same time, that's a choice. You might say, or I might say, or anybody else might say, how do we know that's true? But the person telling you, I'm telling you it's true, so you don't believe me? That's the argument that I hear you using.
I'm not
Sterling.
telling you that it's true. I'm telling you
Okay.
that I believe it, and that I'm asking you, do you, Professor, believe that my ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon? It's simple, yes or no.
I do not know. I cannot answer.
You don't know whether you believe it? You can't choose what you either do or you don't.
So let's make sure we both are using the same definition of belief.
Go on.
Believing something is something that you personally make a decision to believe in, to believe
No, you
that
don't
either
choose
something.
what you
Hold
believe.
on.
You don't choose what you believe.
Oh, yes, you do. I
No,
do.
you don't. You're convinced by the evidence or you're not. So I'm asking you, are you convinced that it's true?
So the evidence that I have tells me that I believe you believe it, but I can't believe it as true because I didn't experience it.
I'm going to put words in your mouth and say no, because it's very simple. No.
If you want it to be no, then that's your choice.
You don't want it to be yes or no. You want it to be
I
very
just
vague.
said I'm
You want it to be
indifferent
very
to it.
vague.
I
This is
cannot know. I cannot know
Either
one
you
way or
believe
the
it or
other
you
of
don't,
truth.
bro. I just told you a story. Do you believe it or not?
Why are you fixated on this?
Because I'm trying to hold your feet to the fire. It's a simple yes or no question. Do you believe my ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon? If you told me your ancestor flew across the Grand Canyon, I'd be like, you're bollocks, mate. It's bogus.
All right, let me tell you something.
Please.
I was once in a previous iteration a dolphin. Do you believe me?
No.
Okay.
See how simple that was?
Yeah, that's very simple.
What's your problem? So you don't believe it. So now I'm telling you.
So now wait, hold on, Sterling. You are saying to him that because you said it, you're asking him if does he believe it just because you said it? On that same criteria, do you believe him just because he said it?
No.
No. Now, does that mean we eliminate all possibilities and say that could never have happened?
No.
No. It means I don't have enough data.
Right.
Yeah, that's
You
my
give
point.
me more data, you show me more facts.
That was your point?
That's the scientific method.
That
I would
was your
go
point?
and I would
Sterling,
look at
have
the
you ever
facts.
been in a situation where you couldn't make a determination one way or another?
Yes.
Okay. I'll rest my case.
Okay, I get it.
There's not enough facts, I think, to make a decision.
Right. But if you presented me with the dolphin, yeah, I would tell you straight up, I don't believe it. That's true. When
I don't
told
know
you
if it's
my
true or
ancestor
not
flew
either.
Across the Grand Canyon, and you went on a rant without telling me yes or no until the very, very.
No, I didn't go on any rant. I answered your question, which
No,
is
you didn't.
same thing we just said. There's not enough information. I can't make a determination.
No. I didn't ask you, was it true? I asked you, do you believe it? And you do have enough information, just like I did. Whether or not I believe that.
Not for my data set. My data set requires more information to make determinations like this.
Excuse me.
That's the way I work. Sorry.
Excuse me, Professor.
I need information that I have some kind of tangible, empirical reality with. Your
This is
story.
just a conversation, Sterling.
you're rude.
This is the way this goes. We're conversing like guys sitting around having a talk. It's not a formal debate, and you have the mic now for 3 minutes, and he can't say a word. We're discussing. We're just conversing.
Are we?
Yeah, I think we're talking
Over each other? Some of us?
Sometimes it all depends on what's being said, and who's saying what. If you say, if somebody answers and then somebody gives an answer, you go, wait, now you did it yourself here. I don't think you even noticed you did it. when he was answering, you talked right over him and said,
Right.
no. And so this is a conversation that we're
Fair
having.
enough.
This is the style we're using here.
I appreciate it.
I don't fault anybody for it, except Uncle Dave. Well, that's because he's
Love
not.
Uncle Dave. Shout out to Uncle Dave. That's weird on YouTube.
So I hate to say it, but I was supposed to get out of here a lot earlier than 11, and I got to get out of here. I think this is a good conversation from one perspective, is that we can look at this stuff and we can say there are different approaches to things. We think that there is an empirical 1 + 1 = 11.
That is empirical.
No, 2. And so there might be on certain things. Mathematics is something that is really hard to controvert. However, there are things that are more subjective beliefs. Did my grandfather fly over the Grand Canyon? Did my great aunt give birth to a dinosaur? I could say, this is a story. Do you believe it? Well, I believe maybe you believe it, but I can't believe it unless I have more empirical evidence.
But I would say that's false, because you either believe it or you don't, based off of what I told you. You're either convinced or you're not.
I'm not convinced. I don't think even Professor Bauer said he believes that your story is true. We just said we don't have enough information to tell if it actually happened or not.
And I was asking whether it actually happened. I said, do you believe it happened?
Do I believe it happened? I don't have enough on the surface. No.
Fine. I mean, that's your answer, but I didn't get that.
You're talking about oversimplistic belief as opposed to tried and tested scientific methodological belief, if you will. It's something that you try the data and you see if it works. I don't know whether your great nth degree uncle flew over the Grand Canyon. I don't know that. I don't know that didn't happen. But I would tend to say, from my vantage point here, I would say, from what I know of the universe, that didn't happen. So I wouldn't believe it. But I also have to admit, I don't know shit about the universe. And so are there weird things that have happened? Did a god part the Red Sea? Did that ever happen? Well, you can believe it, or you can say, I would really like to have more data to believe that. So, yeah, you don't have to, Uncle Dave said, you don't have to believe or disbelieve. You just continue to look for more evidence and find out. And I think that's what leads a lot of things. So.
Well, I think that's where a lot of I think this was in some ways a good example of the challenges and the problems in the discourse that's in the social fabric today. When there's a hard stop on any particular activity of thought or discourse or subject, that's what it is, then you kind of go, well, maybe not. Let's keep looking. And you have to make sure that you're scooping up all the available information to make an informed decision.
And I get Sterling's point. I get what he's the point he's making, but I think there's more to it than
that's my
the
point.
Simplistic answer.
There's more information that's always afoot, and unless you're scooping it all up and sorting it out, you're probably not got most of the story that's going on.
It's like, and there are some questions that are really simple to answer. If my wife said to me, "Do you love me?" I say, "Yeah, yes, I do." She said, "Well, I don't know. Show me some evidence of that." And I could say, "Well, I do this and that. I wash the dishes sometimes. I do this and that." And do you want the biochemical engineering of my brain to decipher what love is? Or is love something that we can get into a totally different conversation? So the simple answer is yes or no. But that doesn't mean that's the whole answer. It just means that's what I believe from this point with the information I have available. That doesn't mean I can't be convinced otherwise. Show me the data. And so there we go. Anyway, I got to call it quits for tonight. I got to do a little traveling tomorrow. And so, Sterling, I appreciate your being here. Oh, he's gone. Sarah, I appreciate you being here, even though you didn't get, you got any last words before I let you go?
Let's everybody have a happy holiday. And don't forget to say happy birthday to Scotty on Wednesday.
So why, thank you.
Everybody bring your A game to the captain's cabin.
Bring your A game on Wednesday. We'll have birthday cake.
Have to bring a glass with some ice and some scotch in it. Toast one to you.
There it is.
Hey,
we'll do something like that.
And real quick, just remembered as a quick plug, tomorrow night at the usual Intrepid time at 8 p.m. Central. 9 p.m. Central? Yeah, 9 p.m. Central. We're going to do a first version of the Loose Lips Lounge. And it will be a stream of cacophonous crap along the lines of what Sterling was giving me a cacophonous crap load about. So we're going to do live, and anybody who wants to join in. We'll be on YouTube on the Professor Bauer channel, and it'll be the Loose Lips Lounge.
Loose Lips Lounge. All right.
I'll say a prayer.
I won't be doing a show tomorrow night, but I do have a show with Wendy Peterson. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Peterson. I've only known her for 20 years. Wendy Robertson. Robertson tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern for 1 hour. And we're going to discuss some, I think, interesting stuff. And so, Sarah, you got anything going?
Don't got anything to plug. I'm simple.
All right. Well, then we'll see you here tomorrow at some point. Or the next day.
All right, you guys. Have a great Thanksgiving, and
you too, Professor.
Enjoy yourselves. Be good to each other.
All right. And everybody, thank you for being here. I appreciate your presence here. I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the debate. I appreciate you just being here and putting your 2 cents worth in. So thank you, everybody, for being here. We'll see you Wednesday night. But first, tomorrow night with Wendy Peterson. Live long. I'm pointing too many fingers. Live long and prosper.